It's about damn time the Broncos got some good news from a trusted NFL source. What's going on, Broncos country? Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. And on today's episode, a double dose of good news from Bleacher Report, which I feel like Bleacher Report is kind of hit or miss on some of their articles. Some of them are definitely based in rumors. Others are more based in fact. And this one, to me, felt like it was based more in fact. So they ranked the top 25 NFL offseason moves. And as I was going through the list, I'm looking at it and I'm going, man, I don't see the Broncos on this list anywhere. And I was about to go, oh, now that's a video where the Broncos get screwed. But then they show up in the top 10, and I do feel like this is probably right exactly where you want to see them. So, obviously, if they rank the top 25 moves, I need you to do me a huge favor. If you haven't already subscribed on this Monday, let's hit 25 subs. 25 moves, 25 subs, put them together. Hit that subscribe button, lock us in for free Broncos content all off-season long. So let's start with the first top 5 off-season moves. And I don't have a general problem with this one overall. I feel like the Bears might be a little bit too high on this list, but that's either, you can go either way with that. The Commanders going all in feels like it was a top 3 move for sure, especially trading for Deebo Samuel. I don't like the Raiders on this list with quarterback Geno Smith. He's like the king of mid. And then the Minnesota Vikings bolstering their trenches feels like it was a little bit higher than it should have been. But for the most part, I don't have any huge issues with it. Now, moves 6 through 10, they also find the Raiders at number 6. And I will give them this. Hiring Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly feels like it was probably their best offseason move. More so than Geno Smith, in my opinion. But you know what? I'm not here to talk about the Raiders. That's Mitchell Rentz's job. But the Denver Broncos come in at a double downing on defense, which at 7 could feel a little low. But again, like I said, I'm totally okay with it. And I think they kind of hit the nail on the head because they list 3 key Broncos players that the Broncos added to the team that are new players in 2025 that I believe are going to make a massive impact on the defense. Here's what they had to specifically say about these 3 players. Last year, the Broncos ranked 7th in total defense and 3rd in scoring. Defense on the way to the postseason, they made a concerted effort to get even better on that side of the ball in the offseason. Poaching, I love that word, a pair of quality starters from the San Francisco 49ers, Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga, and then, of course, drafting Jahdae Barron out of the University of Texas, who we'll talk about a little bit later on in this video. So let's just diagnose the 3 key additions, because each one of these players brings a different type of style to this Broncos defense, something that they didn't necessarily do or weren't privy to while they were on their previous team, whether that be San Francisco or the University of Texas. So before I break down all of that, I want you to grade the Broncos 2025 offseason. I know you've been asked this question before, but I have to go with a solid B+. I can't say it was an A simply because there are some question marks that we'll get into about injury concerns with some of the players that we brought in. But for the most part, from a talent perspective, I think you can't give anything lower than a B+. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let's start with Talanoa Hufanga. Obviously, a player that has been riddled with injuries the last couple of seasons. However, when it comes to that Vance Joseph aggressive style of defensive play, you are looking at one of the perfect molds of what Vance Joseph wants to do. Now, again, like I said, in 2023 and 2024, he only played a combined 17 games. That's 1 full season in 2 full seasons. So that's obviously a, bit of a question mark and a bit of a concern. However, I will say this. He seems to be more healthy. He seems to be excited to get into this new system. And he set himself a major goal, which was to thrive in the Vance Joseph style of defense. I have a major goal for him. I want to see him climb up in the box and continue to be that hard-hitting safety that can duel as both a drop back and pass coverage, but also somebody that can help out in the run game as well, which I feel like all Broncos fans believe is one of the things that we need to focus on in 2025. So let's talk about the pros and cons of Talanoa Hufanga. 1, his high energy and high motor. This guy is always on 120%. He's go, go, go all the time, which I love to see. He's a hard-hitting and not afraid of contact safety. Much like his mentor, Troy Polamalu, who's a Hall of Famer, he brings that extra, lower the shoulder. I'm going to hit you as hard as I can. Football is a violent sport. I mean, hell, in OTAs, he was literally quoted as saying, football is free violence. That's something you want to see out of a safety because while he might not be the biggest, he clearly shows this ultra-aggressive behavior, which is just sort of alpha male on this Broncos defense. And he is a Swiss Army knife type of player. Like I mentioned before, he's able to climb up in the box, protect against the run, but also drop back in coverage if you need him to. But I don't think you will need him to do that nearly as much as you think, considering we have Brandon Jones. So Talanoa Hufanga can play the way that he wants to play, which is that aggressive style. Now, obviously, with that aggression comes some drawbacks. It leads to injuries. And he does have some injury history with a torn ACL and with wrist ligaments. So that overly aggressive style, bleeding into that third con, can lead to injury history and in pass coverage. If you get overly aggressive and try to jump a route, if a really good wide receiver beats you, you're screwed. But one of the things that I will feel a little bit more solace and a little more comfort in is that Hufanga knows that his style of football is quote-unquote dangerous, and he's okay with that. He said injuries are part of the game. Troy Polamalu always told me it's a 100% injury rate regardless, meaning at some point in your NFL career, you are going to get hurt. So every injury that I've came along, I think it's just a testament to who I am to battle through the adversity in those moments. Doesn't that just prove he's got a dog mentality? He's not afraid of injuries. He welcomes that part of the game, and he said, look, I'm not going to sacrifice who I am and my style of play just because, I've had a couple of injuries before. I'm going to live and die by the way I play football. Now, some Broncos fans could look at that and say, well, that's getting a little greedy and maybe a little bit overly, aggressive. But the truth is that you brought him in knowing exactly what kind of player you were getting. That's why you signed him to this deal. So I think the Broncos know and are okay with who he is as a player, and he's going to be an excellent addition to this defense in 2025. You know what else is an excellent addition, but not to the defense, to your wardrobe? This amazing Bo Nix T-shirt, by the way, for just in time for summer. The temperatures are getting much hotter, and I know this is black, but short sleeve, comfortable, great fabric. You can get it over at Fanatics right now. I've made it super easy for you. I put it in the comments and description of today's video, that being the link, of course, so you can start shopping today. Chatsports.com/Bo Nix T. I'm thinking about buying this one myself. It looks pretty sleek, not going to lie. All right, let's talk about the second key addition, Dre Greenlaw. Now, Dre Greenlaw, for me at least, is somebody that I really have a question mark in the air about right now. Not in terms of his talent, but we have seen a multitude of injuries throughout the last couple of years for him. I mean, the stats prove it. It's a major, major red flag because he was injured in 2021 and he only played 3 games. Last year, he only played in 2 games. Now, if you remember, he really messed up that Super Bowl in 2023 where he was celebrating and then collapsed onto the field. So obviously, one of the red flags that Broncos fans should note is he kind of made of glass. And I don't think I would go that far, but I do think that he has to play smart. So my major goal for him is to play smart and stay healthy in 2025. Much like the opposite of what I was talking about with Talanoa Hufanga, I think Dre Greenlaw needs to play a little bit more conservatively. Now, that doesn't mean take plays off, but it means pick and choose your time to be aggressive. Because the things that he's good at are slightly different than what Talanoa Hufanga is good at. Talanoa Hufanga has made a living playing that ultra hard-hitting style of play, whereas Dre Greenlaw plays a little bit more cerebrally. So he played in that 9-wide system in San Francisco, which allowed him to thrive in space. His ability to see the field and communicate with his middle linebacker, Fred Warner. He was an amazing 1B player to what Fred Warner was doing, who, by the way, Fred Warner is on his way to Canton, Ohio as a Hall of Fame linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers. So one of the things that you can say is, was he the best Robin in the league? There's certainly an argument for it. But the cons being, obviously, the injuries. He's never been a true quote-unquote leader. And don't take that, and twist the words. I'm not saying he's not a leader. I'm saying he wasn't the Mike linebacker leader of that defense. Fred Warner was. And the Broncos don't run a 9-wide scheme. So is that ability to play in space going to translate to what Vance Joseph wants, which is that hyper-aggressive, focusing on blitz style of defense? And again, he's not your player that I believe is going to get after the quarterback as much as you want him to. We have plenty of pass rushers to do that. What I think the Broncos want to see out of Dre Greenlaw is the cerebralness, the stuff that he's learned from his time in San Francisco, his ability to not only move up in run coverage, but also drop back in pass coverage, which he's shown an excellent job to do both. So understanding offensive packages and being able to identify them and communicate them with the rest of the defense is going to be his bread and butter. So I'm really excited to see what he can do from a play calling standpoint, which also leads me into my next question. Who's going to have the bigger impact out of these two players? Is it the hard-hitting safety Talanoa Hufanga, or is it Dre Greenlaw, the cerebral kind of play calling Mike linebacker that you want him to be? And again, you could look at this either way. You could say either for a different reason, but let me know what you think in the conversation or the comments down below, excuse me. I think personally it's going to be Greenlaw simply because of what he was able to do while he was healthy in San Francisco. Now let's give a little last minute, we'll call it a special shout out to our guy Jahdae Barron, who was mentioned in this article, but wasn't really a huge deep dive. It was more so of like, hey, the Broncos really made an emphasis on doubling down on defense in 2025, and they proved that with going out and drafting a corner instead of going with a running back like Omarion Hampton or Caleb Johnson, Quinshad Judkins, etc. So last for a couple of years, we've talked ad nauseum about how good he was, and I said this, and I will continue to say it. I think he is bigger, stronger, and less fragile than Maxwell Hairston. I think he is a harder-hitting, more versatile player than Will Johnson, which leads me to say that he is the number one cornerback in this 2025 draft class. So my major goal for him, find your footing early and make plays. Don't overextend yourself. You've got Pat Surtain locking down that first outside corner slot. Don't worry about trying to show that you're as good as PS2. Do what you do. Play in the nickel, get your shots when you get them, and make your plays, because that's what he was able to do at Texas. And out of all the players that are currently in the Broncos cornerback room, you have the best ability to go out and make plays from the slot. I know Jaquan McMillan is, an excellent starter, but the truth is that I see Sean saying week one, Jahdae gets the start at that nickel corner slot, and Jaquan McMillan comes in as a rotational piece, and maybe you take Riley Moss out and you shift Jahdae outside because Peyton wants him to play both nickel and outside corner. So his ability to flip his hips, locate the football, keep the offense in front of you, is going to be what everyone is looking forward from him for the first couple of weeks. I don't need you to be that huge ball-hawking safety and overextend yourself. Just make the plays as they come to you, and you will be just fine. That's my overarching takeaway from this whole article that Bleacher Report nailed. And like I said, I thought they did a pretty good job. Coming in at 7, I probably would have had him, 6 or 5, but that's arguing, hairs. It's splitting hairs, arguing semantics. I don't really care. So do the Broncos have the best defense in the NFL? Because all of the articles around the offseason surrounding the Broncos would lead you to believe that everybody has them as a unanimous top 5 defense. I have them personally at, I'll say top 3. Probably number 2. You could go either way with Philadelphia. It's a coin flip. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. Remember, our goal is 25 subscribers on today's show, so lock us in, hit that subscribe button, and as always, be cool.